Mike Frankel for CageMinds.com, J.R. Rodriguez, Orthrus Promotions. We're going to review what happened at Triple A MMA Rockstars. It was a great night of fights. There was a lot of action, but the event really kicked off at the weigh-ins.
Yes.
So let's start it. We got a no-show, a canceled fight, unable to get medicals.
Yeah, it was tough. Like I said in a previous interview, we deal with these situations through every fight. Fighters drop off, amateurs drop off. Very rare that we have a pro not show up, but we did have a pro not show up to the weigh-ins, and nothing surprises us anymore these days. But Sal did a fantastic job covering up as much as he could in terms of the fights. We had late notification that Nohimy Dennison wasn't going to be able to fight due to the New York Commission suspending her. So, Sal found a great last-minute replacement. The fight went over really quick, but, it takes a lot of guts to step into that cage, and I thought Brittany did a phenomenal job.
Right, how much people are going to want to hear justification from it. People are going to want to look at it right away and say, you're bringing a girl that hadn't fought in 3 years, and she basically got murdered looking like she was fed to the lambs. But from a promoter side of point of view, how important is it to find a replacement who's at least, over the phone saying they're willing to fight, they're going to get in there and do it,
Sure.
And from your guys' perspective, to keep the event going, because you've already done the room planning, the setting up. At that point, everything was set up,
Sure.
all this. What was that like for you guys?
Well, you can't make 100% of everyone happy. We've learned that at an early stage. And, the beauty is we don't do anything over the phone. When we sign fighters, I think every gym can attest to this, we actually go into the gyms, we view them in the cage, we view them sparring, we view their workout. And, nothing that Brittany showed in the gym would suggest that the fight would have been over that quick. I will tell you that you're right, she hasn't fought in quite a while, but her last fight was with Jody Escobar. She's used to top-level talent. So the records aren't that far off. Natalie Roy has a 1-0 record. Brittany was making her pro debut at 0-0. So, all the ingredients were there. Nothing was that far off. It was just a dominant fighter showing her dominance over another fighter. So, as a promoter, all we can do is match them up. We don't actually put the gloves on ourselves and go in there and do it, and we wish for the best. At the end of the day, we hope for the fighter's safety, we hope for a great event, and we hope that our fans feel like they got their money's worth. And I think overall, from beginning to end, all fights, we only had one decision come out that night, so we're very happy with the outcome of the fights.
And from looking at that main event, just real quick, want to touch on it. Do you think from maybe talking to her afterwards that it was an overwhelming moment, the fight on short notice, such a high-caliber opponent? Could that have played mentally into her head?
I think that there's a huge part of the mental game that never gets talked about. I think mental game is probably 50%, if not more, of a well-balanced fighter. So I think you're absolutely right. There was so many things stacked against her, but kudos to her for picking up the fight on short notice. It takes a lot of guts, and in New Mexico and in any state, female fighters are so hard to find. And the ones that aren't signed, have very low records or coming out of another sport such as boxing or Muay Thai or grappling or wrestling. Wrestling's becoming very big in the female ranks. So, all the ingredients were stacked against us as well, trying to find a replacement fighter. So, the fact that Brittany stepped up and took the fight was phenomenal. It took a ton of guts for her to do that, especially against such a hard-hitting opponent like Natalie Roy.
Co-main event, Russell Wilson looks unsubmittable.
Yeah.
Derek Perez, a fast, crazy 3 minutes exponentially. Derek Perez, even in consecutive losses, his skill set seems to be growing. What was that like from the promoter's point of view? The fight, one submission of the night, and it was I thought a candidate for fight of the night, a crazy 3 minutes.
It was a crazy 3 minutes. It was a long 3 minutes. It seemed like forever. Derek has made huge strides in his ground game. He threw up so many submissions and was able to take Russell down, who's, a world-class wrestler. I can tell you, if there was a camera on me, which there's probably some angles out there that you'll see, I was in shock. Not that I don't think Derek is capable of that, but, Russell has a high pedigree when it comes to wrestling. So to see him throw those submissions up, and I'll tell you what, there's a lot of 135ers out there that, had they been caught in that same position that Russell was, they would have tapped. I truly believe that, or they would have got their arm broke. Russell must be made out of rubber, or he must be double jointed or something, because some of those submissions were so tight. I mean, there was a triangle that he threw up. There was a couple arm bars he had. There was a guillotine that Derek threw in there. So super proud of Derek. He always comes in. He's always ready to put on a show, and I've never seen him back down from a fight or anyone. So super proud of Derek for coming in and obviously, putting forth his best effort. And kudos to Russell for coming in and fighting through all of the submissions and the takedowns and reversing them into a beautiful guillotine. So, we couldn't have asked for a better fight, and I think you're absolutely right. It had all the makings for fight of the night as well.
And then you said only one fight went to decision. Give us your thoughts on that one. It was a split decision. John Sparks, Aaron Pearls, 15 minutes of back and forthness, it had everything, grappling, striking. They went hard at it.
Well, I think John came in with a really good game plan. I think that he executed the exact game plan that he needed to beat Aaron Pearls. Aaron Pearls is no joke. I think what John did is he was able to stay away from the cage and not allow Aaron to press him up against it and impose his will on John. I think that he executed his game plan to perfection in order to pull out the W. For a decision, a lot of people get bummed out about decision fights. It was nonstop action. The guys never stopped or gassed out, or they gave it their all for all 3 rounds. So again, I've said this in the past, and I'll say it again. I just think people step up their game when they get in that Triple A MMA cage. The lights are bright, the cameras are on, and there's a ton of big celebrities. We tend to have big name fighters in the crowd at every event, and I think that these guys want to put on their best show that they can. And for a decision fight, it was an absolute non-stop packed fight, and we were happy with it.
And then there were some wow moments. In the amateur side, Matt and Ernesto with great submissions.
Yes.
Tua Pleasant flying out of nowhere to start the fight. And let's not forget to talk about the best entrance of the night. Randy McCarty, Vanilla Ice, the Running Man, the Worm, and then a fight stopped by a cut, but still a fighter showing great personality and great character. Tell us about those.
Well, with Randy McCarty against Clint Roberts, fantastic fight. Again, Winklejohn really prepares his guys with a good game plan, and they go in and they execute. And you could tell that, Wink, obviously, one of the most decorated and world-class trainers out there. And he really prepares his fighters. But Randy McCarty, I'll tell you what, that guy has the showmanship down. I had an opportunity to visit with him in the back. We were on intermission, and Randy was getting stitched up by the doc in the back, and we had a chance to kind of talk with him. And he shared with me that in Arizona one time, he took a fight in Arizona, and he was fighting a guy who was in the hometown of Arizona. And the guy came, he was already in the cage, Randy was, and the other guy came out, and he started dancing to the other guy's music. And instantly, the crowd fell in love with him. And towards the middle of that fight, the crowd actually started cheering for Randy. And Randy told me, with the doctor, that from that point forward, he told himself that he would always make a grand entrance. And I'll tell you what, he won over a chunk of that crowd that night with his Vanilla Ice, and like you said, the Worm, or as I know it, the Centipede, and all kinds of other crazy moves. But I have to tell you that I even went back there and told him that he definitely has my fighter entrance of all time in the Triple A MMA cage. I've never seen someone come in and put on that type of showmanship, so I absolutely loved it. Going to Matt Goudelet, his fight was it was tough. I mean, I think Matt was kind of at a disadvantage on his reach. He kept trying to get in close and trying to get some shots off. He kept trying to get that overhand right, and I think the jab would have helped him out a lot. But he toughed it out. He stuck through it, and he did what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to fight all 3 rounds, and he did that. And kudos to his opponent. He did not tap. He went to sleep, and he took that choke in full stride. So wonderful comeback. Shows a lot of perseverance. It shows a lot of strength and will inside the cage. So extremely happy for that outcome as well.
And Ernesto
Salvidre, he world-class wrestler. I think he's a 2 or 3 time state champ. And he's been working his hands and stand up with Pat Holmes, one of the best in the state in terms of boxing training. And I think that him alongside with the likes of like Jerome Rivera and obviously Natalie Roy, and there's a few others that I could mention, but the ones that have been in the Triple A MMA cage recently, I think out of Santa Fe, you know, those three that I could think of right now, those are the future of Santa Fe MMA right there. I think that, you know, those guys are coming out. You know, Ernesto's an amateur still right now, but geez, his skill set is far beyond his age. So I really think that he's got a huge career ahead of him, whether he decides to take it into the MMA ranks or whether he decides to take it into boxing. I think he's got a huge career ahead of him. And again, I just think him, Jerome, and Natalie, they are the future of MMA out of Santa Fe and New Mexico as well.
Awesome thoughts. Gotta echo most of those. For a wrestler, Savidre showed amazing striking for just having started working with Pat. That grappling, like you said, with all the accolades, looked on point. And then the oh wow moment of the night. Tua Pleasant and the flying kick across the cage. What was your thoughts as that moment's happening?
Well, it caught me off guard. I will say that I thought he was going to do a Superman punch or something, the way he first came out with the jump. But the kick threw me off guard. But I tell you what, again, the fans ate it up. They loved it. I mean, fans want to see excitement. And you know, a lot of fans think excitement is stand-up and punching and kicking. And, you know, the ground game doesn't get all of the accolades that it deserves. But I think that, you know, Tua came out, he was a little underweight as opposed to Elias, but, you know, he put on a good fight. They showed great sportsmanship afterwards. And again, Elias, that kid is a monster. I think he's got a huge career ahead of him as well, as long as he continues to progress his game, keep working with his coaches. You know, Elias fights out of Albuquerque BJJ. And, you know, they're putting great game plans together for him over there. We actually, like I said, we go into the gym. We watch every fighter before we put him on the show. He was just destroying the Muay Thai bags over there. I mean, his leg kicks are devastating. He did a lot of Muay Thai clinch, did some flying knees. I think he kneed him once as he was a downed opponent in a 3-point. But obviously the referee took the proper steps to stop it and tell the fighters, you know, what they were doing wrong. But I think Elias, when he decides to turn pro, I think if he continues to work his game, he's going to have a huge career as well. Tua, not taking anything away from him. I think he even has plans to drop down even further in weight and probably find a weight that he feels really strong at. You know, Tua first came into the Triple A MMA cage as a heavyweight and did really well as a heavyweight, came down to 205 and is fighting there, and I think he wants to come down to 185 or even 170. So look forward to seeing what his plans are in the future as well, how much leaner he can find himself and how much stronger he can find himself. Overall, though, the card was stacked top to bottom, even with the ones that fell off and the fights that we lost. Everyone seems to step it up in the AAA MMA cage. And the beauty is we have representation from all over the state. You know, like I said, we have Santa Fe fighters, Rio Rancho, Albuquerque. We had Las Cruces fighters on the card. I think we even had some Texas fighters on the card. So, you know, overall, I just think it was a wonderful event. If you haven't been out to a AAA MMA event yet, you're missing out. You need to come out. The action is nonstop. And if you can't make it out, AAA MMA /live, you know, you can watch everything right from the comforts of your own home. So don't miss the next one.
And then this question would almost be a little more appropriate for Sal because he does the matchmaking.
Sure.
But a guy like Elias, who's a true 205er, and we've seen in the regional circuit finding heavyweights and light heavyweights who are truly, that's their weight class as they would move up. How much of a difficulty is that, you know, matching someone like him up, trying to find the proper person to take him on?
It's extremely hard. And Sal can attest, we share everything, we discuss everything as a team. And heavyweights and light heavyweights are extremely difficult in this state to find. The ones that are here are either signed or they do a lot of their fighting outside of the state just because there's not a lot of light heavyweights and heavyweight matches around here. If you want a 125er, 135er, or 145er, this is absolutely the state to find the cream of the crop. But in terms of the light heavyweights and heavyweights, you know, we have to reach into smaller towns such as Grants and Gallup, Farmington, up into Colorado or Texas or Arizona. There are a couple down in Las Cruces and El Paso. But you're absolutely right. In terms of Albuquerque Metro, trying to find heavyweights and light heavyweights, it's a task. But we have one of the best matchmakers in the business, and he puts in a full day's work every day.
And one more time, I just want to mention, his name is Orthrus Promotions.
Yes.
We've had a little controversy with that, it being reprised, people mispronouncing it.
Yes.
His point is to make people remember him. He's well on his way to doing that. And I want to make sure everybody knows his name. Shout out to him. Last thing is the 26th, the next event. We got Rivals. We're here in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Yes.
How's that card looking? You guys confident about everything so far on there?
Super confident about that card. I think Sal put together one heck of a card. I think that any one of the guys in the main or the co-main event could headline their own event. You know, we have Conrad Padilla against Isaiah Reyes, which is going to be a phenomenal fight. Both of these guys are high caliber and ready to come in and bang. It's been a while since either one of them have fought. They've been hungry and been training hard to get back into the cage. So I think that our main event is going to be phenomenal. And then our co-main event, you know, with Joby Sanchez is just, I mean, to have Joby on our card, you know, one of the top fighters in the state. You know, he was signed to XFC and did some damage there, and obviously is now with Jackson's and probably improving his game with leaps and bounds every day. Looking forward to seeing him back into New Mexico fighting again. So we're extremely excited about that card. It's going to be at the Crown Plaza, July 26th, here in Albuquerque, off University and Manal there. So this is one you definitely don't want to miss. If you missed him in the past, this is the one you do not want to miss. It's going to be one heck of a card.
That's Triple A MMA Rivals.
Yes,
We'll
sir.
see you guys all there, and thank you again for the time.
Thanks, Micah.